between the one surface, say upper surface, and the layer of the lubricant. Now, the upper surface of the body is not coming in touch with the lower surface. There is a layer of lubricant, and thus friction is much lesser than that between the two surfaces. When the two surfaces were in contact with each other, there was much friction. Now, a layer of lubricant has come in between the two, and that thin layer that avoids the direct contact of the two surfaces, and the friction is reduced to a much greater extent. So, this lubrication is another method by which we can reduce the friction. An important and very important method is by converting the sliding friction into rolling friction. Initially, we have studied that rolling friction is very much lesser than sliding friction, and if we can convert sliding into rolling, then by using say rollers, by using wheels, then we will reduce the friction to greater extent. If we slide, this is our common experience, if we slide a heavy object on the floor, we require a big force. अगर किसी चीज़ हैवी ऑब्जैक्ट ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਲਾਈਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਫਲੋਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਫੋਰਸ ਲਗਾਉਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ. ਬਟ ਔਨ ਦਾ ਅਦਰ ਹੈਂਡ, if we put it on the wheels or on the roller, we can move it easily. You must have seen in our daily life that most of the bigger blocks, they are taken from one place to the other by putting some rollers under those big blocks, because in that case when we put the roller under that body, then our sliding will convert to rolling. So, when it becomes rolling, so the rolling friction will be much lesser than the sliding friction. So, if we can convert rolling sliding friction into rolling friction, then this is the third method by which we can reduce our friction to a greater extent. This is done in our machinery by using a ball bearing system, ball bearings or ball bearing system, in which we convert our sliding friction into rolling friction. What is ball bearing? Ball bearing, it consists a number of steel balls which are inserted between the axle and the wheel, which reduces force of friction by considerable amount. There are certain steel balls which are inserted between axle and the wheel. Now, axle and wheel, they will not come directly in contact with each other. In between the axle and the wheel, we have, see this picture. Now, this is the axle and this is the wheel which have to move on the axle or any. If this comes directly in contact with each other, there will be sliding. Now, there will be sliding, and in case of sliding, the friction will be more. But if we have these steel balls, these are the steel balls which are put in between the axle and the wheel, then there will be no sliding. Instead, we will get rolling of these balls will be rolling, and our friction, sliding friction will be converted into rolling friction. And we have studied that rolling friction is very much lesser than that of the sliding friction. So, whenever we are to reduce the friction, we can reduce it by converting the sliding friction into rolling friction with the help of ball bearings. This is very much seen in our bicycles, in our motors. You must have seen these ball bearings which are available in the bazaars, or they are available in the workshops where these ball bearings are used. You must see these practically, what are the ball bearings and what is the use of these ball bearings, and you must know that these ball bearings are just used to convert sliding friction to rolling friction. This is very important part of our machinery. Another important method is streamlining. We have studied the fluid friction. Fluid friction was when a body moves through a fluid, then a friction comes which is called fluid friction. When a body is driven through fluid, then fluid friction depend upon the shape of the body. If the body is flat, then there will be more fluid friction, because the resistance of the fluid, resistance of say air, resistance of the liquid will be more. But if we have a streamlined shape means a pinpointed shape, then this fluid friction will be minimum and will be very low. That is why we have high speed bodies like aeroplanes, rockets, jet plane or missiles, or they have pinpointed shape. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ front ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹ pinpointed ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈਗਾ, because they are streamlined. High speed cars, they are pinpointed, they have streamlined shape in front to have minimum fluid friction, because this is the another method by reducing the friction, that is called streamlining. Streamlining means by making the shape of a body pinpointed like this. This is the shuttle. The front of this shuttle is streamlined. This is not flat, this is streamlined. Then the resistance of the air will be low, the friction will be low, otherwise friction of the air will be more. This is the aeroplane. Again this front is streamlined. This streamlining is there. The shape is made of such type that resistance of air is very low. This is the rocket. Again they have streamlined shape. So by streamlining we can reduce the friction. So when we have covered this topic of friction, once again we will come to the starting, so that we can review what we have studied in this lecture. You must have, after listening this lecture, you must have known that what is the friction, what are the types of friction, what are different types static friction, and what is the cause of friction, which we have studied. Then you must have studied about the different type: static friction, kinetic friction, sliding friction, rolling friction, cause of rolling friction, and then limiting friction. These are very important for your further study, which you will come in next year of study. Whenever you study about machinery, the concept of friction comes, and this is the basic knowledge which you must have about this friction. And limiting friction, this graph is very important. What is fluid friction? You must know about the fluid friction. Then we have studied the laws of friction. After listening this lecture, you must have, there are 4 laws. I will review that, because the friction depends upon the nature of the materials. Friction always opposite to the motion along the tangent to the surfaces in contact with each other. It depends upon the normal reaction. The limiting friction is independent of the area or shape until the normal reaction remains same. The idea of normal reaction must have become clear to you. Coefficient of friction is very important term, which is the ratio of limiting friction to the normal reaction. It is denoted by mu. Its value is 0 to 1. No units, no dimensions. Different type of material have different coefficient of friction. You must have knowledge about these materials. Why we have the wheels of the train made of iron, Why train is run on the railway track made of iron? Because iron and iron will have a very low coefficient of friction. Otherwise, iron and concrete have very high. This is why train is not run on the roads. The railway track is made for that. Then coefficient of friction of different material is very important for your knowledge. Coefficient of friction, how we calculate this coefficient of friction, this is very important. Another term was angle of friction. This was the angle made by the resultant of the limiting friction and the normal reaction, which was made with the normal reaction. Then this was again proved that tan alpha is equal to mu, tangent of angle of friction is equal to coefficient of friction. Another term which we have studied, that was angle of repose. What was angle of repose? That was the angle which the inclined plane makes with the horizontal, so that when body placed on it just slides down. Just, this is very important term, just, otherwise it will slide down, but we have to note when it slides, when it starts sliding, then that angle will be called angle of repose. Then we have proved that again tan theta is equal to mu, that tan of angle of repose is equal to coefficient of friction. Again tan alpha and tan theta are same, hence alpha and theta are angle of repose. Another important result which you must remember, angle of repose is equal to angle of friction. Then we studied advantages of friction, okay, how this friction is helpful to us. Different example we will have studied, that it helps in walking, it helps in transmission of power through belts and gears or pulleys and belt system. They can work only with the friction. Brakes are applied due to friction. Nails and screw are fitted due to friction. We can tie a knot with only friction. We can eat because of friction. Adhesive work due to friction. We write on the paper or the board due to friction, and we clean with sandpaper due to friction. There were disadvantage of friction, that friction is very harmful to, although it is necessary, but there are harmful effects, that some energy is wasted to cover this friction. Again machinery parts, there is lot of wear and tear of the machinery parts due to friction. Heat is produced, energy is wasted in the form of heat. So these are the disadvantages of the friction. Then in the last we studied, okay, what are the methods by which we can reduce friction. Sometimes we have to increase the friction, because say when the road of slippery or in the hilly area, when there is snow, then there sand is thrown on the railway track or on the roads to increase the friction. This is not that we always reduce the friction, sometimes we have to increase the friction also. So that friction is increased by covering the smoothness, with some materials which are rough materials, or like sand, or sand is thrown on the tracks to cover this, to increase the friction, so that a vehicle can easily move on the road, because friction is very necessary for movement of the vehicles. Or but we have these methods which are used to reduce friction. Different methods were discussed: selection of materials, polishing the then lubrication by using the ball bearings, by streamlining. These different methods, proper selection of materials by using the rubber tires, we reduce the friction. This is the selection of materials that makes the reducing of friction. Polishing was another method that we discussed, that it covers the irregularity and makes the surfaces smooth, and smooth surfaces there will be low friction. Then lubrication was discussed. Then in we converted the sliding friction into rolling friction with the help of ball bearings, and we studied about the what is ball bearing, how it converts sliding friction into rolling friction, and in the last we had discussed about the streamlining. That streamlining is very important to reduce the fluid friction, which is made by making the shape of the aeroplanes, rockets, the front of this in the pinpointed shape. This reduces the friction. So, these different PowerPoint slides, they make clear about the concept of friction and its applications. You must have some knowledge about this friction and what are its application. Thank you very much.